Welcome to the Museum of Fine Arts in St. Petersburg. I'm here with Katherine Pill, who is the curator of contemporary art, and we are inside the wonderful Derrick Adams Buoyant exhibition. These are all pictures from his Floaters series. And Katherine, when you look at these pictures, what first strikes you about them?
It was pretty incredible when we unpacked the crates. This exhibition was organized by the Hudson River Museum in New York, and I'd of course seen these incredible images online, but opening the crates and seeing the neon colors was incredibly striking, as was sort of seeing the artist's stylistic developments from a really painterly style to the more hard-edged, kind of really geometric.
And you walked us through that as we were enjoying the exhibit, and the early works are all hand-drawn, hand-painted. He incorporates, as you talked about later on in the series, more and more fabric. So we're too far away for you to see it right now, but the bathing suits that you notice in this giant polyptych back here, or quadriptych, are actually fabric cutouts, and it gives a completely different, obviously, surface texture to the piece, but the visual interest up close, because you obviously from this distance you cannot tell, but when you get up close you see that richness, and it gives it a much more different material value.
Yeah, he's definitely known for his use of collage and really playing around with different kinds of dimensionality. So there is sort of a compression of space, but then you get this depth with this sort of play of the fabric elements.
Now, you look at these pictures and they don't seem radical, they don't seem revolutionary, but they really are. Because when was the last time you saw a picture of a black person at leisure? Not a black person at a protest, not a black person with a basketball in their hand, not a black person getting beat up by a cop, but a black person on a floaty, a black person enjoying themselves, a black person candidly doing something that white people do. And when I was able to speak to the artist, that was one of the things that he really talked about and reinforced to me, is that these are pictures of black leisure, black normalcy, that the mass media never shows. You never see images like this, like you do with white people in magazines and all over the place. And one of his inspirations is displayed in the exhibit here with Martin Luther King from Ebony magazine on a vacation in Jamaica. And that is a really unusual context for most people to see Martin Luther King not in front of the Washington Memorial or the Lincoln Memorial or rallying people or giving a speech in a suit. He's out there in swim trunks. He's out there reading a newspaper in his bed. It's a remarkable sort of origin for what we see inside.
It was a side of Dr. King that Derrick Adams was surprised to find in Ebony magazine, and he found it truly inspirational and wanted to show a more fully dimensional, fully realized human being. And so it was a working vacation. He was finishing his fourth book, but yeah, the article is amazing in the way that it shows just Dr. King at rest with his family.
Yeah, and it is really revelatory to see, this figure who we're only used to seeing in suits, at pulpits, marches, rallies, just hanging out, chilling out. And that's the whole purpose of this series, is to, I guess you would say, force, for lack of a better word, white audiences, who are the traditional museum-going audience, to see black people in a different light. Again, to not see black people as protesters and marchers and all the struggle and turmoil they go through, but to just see black people at leisure, hanging out. And artistically, it's fantastic, but also the messaging here is really powerful. And I think as we talk about, the social justice and lack of racial equality in the country, it's images like this that are important to show us that black people do this stuff too. We're all the same. There are similar shared experiences, and you know, that's one of the great things about art is you can enjoy this for the fantastic colors and the neon and the artistry of the using the textiles and how he puts it really together, but you can really follow this work deeper and deeper and deeper into many, many levels.
Absolutely. And, you know, the artist has made it very clear this really is about the black figure at rest, at leisure. And, yeah, the fact that we don't see it often enough is what makes it radical. But we will be speaking with the artist next Thursday, October 15th. In conversation with Dr. Gretchen Soren and Cynthia Wilson Graham. They are historians, writers. Dr. Soren is also a curator who have written extensively about the importance of African American leisure and travel during the Jim Crow era. So navigating the violence, the humiliation, the unpredictability, but also the ways that Black leisure sort of actually started to lead towards civil rights.
That's going to be a Zoom chat, right? And more information about that can be found at the MFA St. Pete website. You know, as you keep digging into this, you know, black people in water, you know, there are any number of relationships there, going all the way back to the transatlantic slave trade, going to fire hoses in Birmingham, Alabama. You mentioned previously, if we can look over here, Christy, you've got one of the floaties is watermelon, and that comes with all kinds of racist overtones to it. You've got segregated beaches and pools all throughout Florida when leisure was prevented, you know, from black people, or at least integrated leisure. So these are wonderful pictures, a wonderful series that on the surface, boy, it's pretty and it's beautiful and it's colorful and it's really neat. And the more you dig, and that's what great artists do. You know, they kind of lure you in, and then over time these questions and understandings evolve, and you start to look at these pictures like, that's not just a guy on a pizza. You know, that's really a radical image. Because I promise you, go to the museum, go to the Met, go to MoMA, go to the Art Institute of Chicago, find a black person just hanging out. You are not going to see it. And these pictures are fabulous, and they really break new ground for institutions to display them. And as we wrap up, some of the ownership of these pieces, these are all out of private collections, have interesting stories to tell also.
Yeah, there are some major black collections represented here. Well, first of all, these are all private ones, so these will go back to private collections. And it is important for the artist that these images are seen in a museum setting, as you said. And yeah, the Swan family is from the Grant and Tamia Hill collection. Grant Hill, former NBA player, Tamia the singer, and they have an incredible collection from mid-century to contemporary black artists. And behind us is the Buoyant from the Dean collection, which is the incredible collection of contemporary art amassed by Alicia Keys and Cassim Dean and Swizz Beatz.
And this exhibit will be, all these pieces will be going back to the collectors after this, so this exhibit ends here. When is it open through?
Through November 29th.
November 29th, so you've still got plenty of time. St. Petersburg, obviously a great place to visit. More and more of the city and town is reopening, so if you have a chance, you know, again, these pictures come out of private collections, so this may be your last chance ever to see them, and it is worth your while, especially up close and personal. Katherine, thank you so much for your time. Museum of Fine Arts, St. Petersburg. Come and see Derrick Adams, Buoyant.